Hello and welcome back. My name is Sean, also known as ChilliChump. Today's recipe is a really special one. It's probably the first homemade chili sauce recipe that I ever had. It's one that my mom came up with and it is absolutely phenomenal. It's called Chisa Piri Piri. I was born and grew up in Africa, and that's probably one reason why I absolutely love peri peri chilies. True peri peri chilies are actually African bird's eye. They were probably brought over to Africa in the 16th century by Spanish sailors from South America. The other reason I absolutely love them is because they taste fantastic and they have a perfect heat profile. Today's sauce is going to be majority peri peri, but there are a few other additions and we'll go through those in just a sec. The first thing we need to do is get out to the greenhouse and pick ourselves some chilies.
Now, I've actually picked most of my peri peri chilies, so those are already in the freezer. And that's the one good thing about the sauce. You can use frozen chilies. You can actually use dried chilies as well if that's all you can get hold of. If you have to, then the alternative is to use Thai chilies if you can't get hold of proper peri peri chilies. I need to find my way around here, but you can see there at the back, those lined up there, those are my peri peri. There are a few still on there that are ripening. But today we're going to get some sweeter chilies. We're going to use some Beaver Dam chilies. These are similar to poblano in terms of heat. It is coming up to the end of the season, so a lot of these have gone beyond their usefulness, but there's still a few lovely ripe ones in here that we can use, like this one. That's a beauty. I think that'll be enough. I'm just going to grab one more just in case. There we go. Need to give these a good wash. Now, when my mother used to make this, she would use habaneros, Scotch bonnets, that sort of thing. It's because she didn't really have access to some of the super hots that I'm growing, and that you can actually get hold of quite easily in the supermarkets. This is a big black mama, well over 1 million on the Scoville scale, but if you don't want that sort of heat, then of course you can use something a little bit cooler, maybe a habanero or a Scotch bonnet, like I said, but try and keep it either red or brown. The brown's gonna add perfectly to this. So we're gonna grab a couple of these. This one is just stunning. Love that. And let's see. Maybe I'll mix it up a bit, and we have here some 7-pot habaneros. So again, these are about 1.2, 1.6 million on the Scoville scale. Let's get one that's deep red. That looks good. And let's get one more big black mama. And I think that is more than enough.
Yeah, we have our freshly picked chilies. We have some Beaver Dams. You can use poblanos for this, or even sweet peppers, bell peppers. It's really up to you. These are mainly there for the bulk. These will add a nice bit of substance to the sauce, and also a bit of sweetness. And these won't add any sweetness. These are the super hot. So these are our big black mamas. We have a couple of those, and we also have some 7-pot habaneros, which are again super hots, well over 1 million on the Scoville scale. When it comes to your peri peri, you can use frozen, you can use fresh, you can use dried. I like to use fresh, to be honest. It's just much easier to work with, but frozen, they do the job just fine as well. We're going to measure out 250 grams of chilies. Let's take a look at the remaining ingredients. We have some salt, sugar, garlic, oil, and vinegar. The vinegar I'm using is a white wine vinegar. Sometimes I'll use an apple cider vinegar. I have used malt vinegar in the past as well when I didn't have the other stuff. You can use pretty much whichever vinegar you like, but try and make it a good quality one because the sauce will really benefit from that. Oil, I'm just using standard vegetable oil. You can use whichever oil is your preference, but yeah, this is what I'm going to be using. Don't use extra virgin olive oil because we are going to be heating this up in just a moment, and that stuff doesn't do very well under heat. The sugar, we're not going to be using a lot of sugar, so I'm going to be using the real stuff. If you have a problem with sugar, you can use a sugar alternative like erythritol or something like that. Salt, it's Himalayan pink rock salt, but you can use, again, any salt you want, and that comes down to your preference. And garlic, we're going to be using a lot of garlic. For the amounts, this is pretty easy, actually. We're going to be using 250 milliliters of oil. So whatever amount of the peri peris you're using, This is 250 grams. Use the equivalent in milliliters. So 250 grams, 250 milliliters. And the same goes for the vinegar, 250 milliliters of vinegar. Very easy to remember. We're also going to be using 2.5 teaspoons of salt and 2.5 teaspoons of sugar. Nice and simple. If you want this to have a little bit less heat, then obviously leave out your super hots and maybe add a few more of these. If you want to bulk it out some more, then again, add more of these. So you can really play with the recipe, but the core part of the recipe is over here. With the bigger chilies, I would recommend just slicing them in half. It'll just help with this process. So just like that, rough chunks. And yep, the seeds go in as well. This also helps to check if there's any problems inside. If there's any rotting bits or anything that looks a bit off on the inside of your chilies, then yeah, don't use them. That is scary smelling and looking. And then our 7-pot habanero. We've got here 250 milliliters of oil, but we're not going to use the whole lot right now. Same thing with the vinegar. So with the oil, just put about half into the blender. And then for the vinegar, the same thing. This is important, hugely important. Peri peri sauce should be chunky. It shouldn't be smooth. So you want to use the pulse function on your blender if you have one. Otherwise, just be gentle with your blending. Don't overblend it. Give it a bit of a shake. Get things mixed around. Like I said, some of it can be pureed. That's fine. But for the most part, you want lovely chunks in there. I think we're good. So there we go. That's what we want to see. So I don't know if you're able to see in there those chunks. I'll be able to see it better in just a moment. The reason you saved the vinegar and the oil from before is because of this. You want to get out as much of this gorgeous mash as you can. So you're going to add in that vinegar and also the oil. And there's actually one last ingredient to add, just to make sure that people stuck around beyond the recipe stage right in the beginning. And that is about 50 to 100 mils of lemon juice. This is going to add an amazing zing to this, which is just perfect for a peri peri sauce. About 50 to 100 milliliters of lemon juice. And now we need to get this simmering, not too hot, just as it starts to simmer. You don't want to burn this. When you burn chilies, it just ruins the flavor. So you're just going to let this simmer for a while. It could take about 20 minutes, half an hour, and you want this to change texture. And I'll show you what that texture looks like as soon as we get it here. So we made some progress. It has cooked down quite a bit. There's still quite a lot of liquid in here though. What we're looking for, so you should firstly be using a decent sized pot with a wide base, and that just allows it to get rid of the moisture a lot quicker. But when you take your spoon and you do this, you want there to be a path left behind, and then you know it's ready. It'll make sense when I show it to you later. So I think we are almost there. If we take our spoon and we come across there, we can see that it takes a little bit longer for it to come together in the middle, and that is just what we're looking for. So not too long now, and it'll be perfectly ready. At this stage, I want to give it a bit of a taste because I want to check if there's any more salt that's needed. I think it's got the right amount of salt, maybe a little touch more, so I'm just going to add a sprinkling more in there, probably about half a teaspoon. But this part here is down to preference. One of the reasons you want it this thick, it'll actually stay together. You'll get less separation later on. Okay, let's test one more time. I think we are about ready here. Let's just stir this in. So we can see there it maintains that gap for quite a while, and that is exactly what I want to see. Perfect. Look at that. Oh, Okay, I'm going to turn off the heat because we are done with the cooking. We are going to be hot bottling, and this will make it last for a decent amount of time. So we're just going to use these Kilner jars. First thing first, we need to make sure it's sanitized. I have already sterilized these, but I'm just going to use Star San, which is a no-rinse acid sanitizer. Perfectly safe. It just contains phosphoric acid, which is, well, it's a common ingredient inside things like Coca-Cola. So, yeah, don't stress about that. And that there is going to be nicely sanitized. So while it's still hot, you want to get that in the jar. Now what happens is, when we do this, that lid, at the moment, you can hear that has a bit of a sound to it because it's still flexing. When it cools down, that lid is going to, you'll hear it actually after a little while. It'll just go bing, and it'll pop down, and that means it's created a seal. At that point, you can actually take off this lid. Here's one that I did previously. You can see that it looks very similar. This here, the color will change a little bit towards more of this sort of color. There's still a little bit of aeration in there because of how we blended the oil, but that will settle down. So this is one I did previously. If I take that lid off, you can see that it doesn't make a noise. No noise, because that is suctioned down onto there and actually sealed this jar. That's canned. That's going to last a long, long time. And these ones will do exactly the same thing. Now this leftover bit, I'm just going to be putting in the fridge because, yeah, I'm going to be using it over the next little while. So these jars, once they do seal, they will be put on a shelf because they will be shelf stable at that stage. The pH level of this is going to be in the safe range, well below 4.6. I believe my last measurement that I did with this was 3.9, but you can test yourself, but it is well below 4.6. So it is shelf stable. If you aren't going to hot bottle and seal it like that, then yeah, just stick it in the fridge. You should be fine for the next couple of weeks, easy. I'm going to be putting some in these jars. One I'm going to be giving to my mum. She keeps treating me with her version. I'm going to give her some of mine, and I think it's going to be hot. I'll try and get her feedback on that, see what she thinks. And then obviously a bottle for myself that's going to be stuck in the fridge because I've finished my last batch. But this will keep me nicely stocked up. This stuff is strong. Actually, I need to taste this, don't I? Let's do a proper taste test. Let's give it a go. Amazing flavor up front. Creamy almost. Oh, it tastes so good. The heat isn't instant, but there it starts building. But my goodness, that tastes good. Wow. So good, so good. Probably should have made a little bit more, but got plenty of peri peris in the freezer, so I can make some more. That flavor is phenomenal. The lemon really brings out another dimension to it. You don't have to use lemon. I don't think my mom actually uses lemon for her batches that she makes, but I find with peri peri, a bit of lemon there really adds a great dimension to this. That is phenomenal. There's nothing I'd change there. Nothing I'd add, nothing I'd take away. For me, that's the perfect heat. I think Mrs. ChilliChump, I think she'd eat this. If I cooked it with like chicken, this would be fantastic as a baste for chicken. So peri peri chicken, I think it'll go fantastically with that. What you can do is take a couple tablespoons of this, spatchcock a chicken, and then stick it inside a freezer bag or like a Ziploc bag, and just work it into the meat a little bit, stick it in the freezer, and when you're ready to eat it, defrost, and then go and stick it on the barbecue, grill, braai, whatever you're going to be doing, or stick it in the oven, and you'll have yourself a fantastic peri peri chicken. Oh, that burns. There you go. Chisa Piri Piri. My mom's fantastic peri piri hot sauce. Thank you, Mom. You're awesome. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you make this recipe. And if you do, let me know in the comments down below. And until the next video, stay spicy.